The time is finally here. So PLTR, as many of you guys have noticed, went from $125 per share all the way to lows of $95 per share today. And of course, yesterday, 1 hour before the market closed, this is when all the selling pressure began to happen. I made personally $6,000 with that day trade, shorting the shares of PLTR into the close and then locking in profits. It sold off even further. I didn't capture any of that. But then once the market opened in today's live trading session, I opened up a quick little short position. I didn't make very much. I was kind of late to the rally. I just made $2,000 shorting PLTR, and I made another $3,000 shorting SMCI, and that was all caught live. If you ever want to tune on into my live trading sessions, it's the second link in the description down below. But the question everyone is asking is, why is PLTR selling off so aggressively? What has caused this? First off, everyone knew PLTR was overbought and overhyped up. So all it kind of took was somewhat of negative news. And it didn't have to be super negative or super bad. But again, when something is so incredibly overvalued, this is why you have to be very cautious. It's not that if you were long that you needed to sell at 125. It's that if you're buying at 125 and you're surprised that it's pulling on back, then again, it's a problem that you should have with yourself, because your inability to understand how overhyped up something is will be your downfall. Nonetheless, PLTR falls on CEO's share plan and possible DoD budget cuts. So very quickly, I want to explain this. Originally, or what ended up happening is that Alex Karp, who is the CEO, plans to sell more than $1 billion worth of his shares, and that the Pentagon is considering budget cuts over the next 5 years. Both of these don't really surprise me. The first one of him selling, it's kind of like GameStop. And again, I love comparing these stocks to GameStop because they did the same thing. When PLTR went from $30 per share all the way to highs of $120 per share, you can't blame the CEO for wanting to take profits or lock in a portion of his net worth, right? Because a lot of his net worth is based off of the value of the company. And we know long term, it might not continue to trade at $120 per share. So I don't blame him for wanting to take profits. I think it's very safe for him to be able to, hey, I'm just going to lock in $1 billion here and we'll go from there, right? Obviously, that instills maybe some short-term fear into the market. Nonetheless, not a big surprise, and I think anyone with common sense would understand that. The only people that are offended are those that purchased at $125 per share. This part of Palantir stock drops 10% after Trump administration is eyeing large defense budget cuts. For those that did not hear, supposedly there's supposed to be a massive budget cut where possibly there is a slice of 8% from defense budget every year over the next 5 years. And of course, if you don't know, Palantir, a lot of their revenue is based out of these government contracts, especially on the defense side. So if they're seeing an 8% cut every year for the next 5 years, that might take or have a negative influence into Palantir, who again makes a big portion of their revenue from this budget. Again, if you understand how Palantir originally made most of its money, it almost made all of its money just through defense contracts that it had with the US government. So you can see why this could act as a negative catalyst where, again, it's not certain that it's going to be a huge negative influence for them, but it is assumed. And again, this is where I've said that it is just because of what is expected to happen that is somewhat negative. And because Palantir was so incredibly overvalued and so incredibly overhyped up that the market gets ahead of itself, it's projecting what it's going to do for 2025 and 2026. This kind of changes that forecast because of those budget cuts. So now hopefully it makes a little bit more sense to you on why these things are dropping. Other than that, again, I'm not surprised by this. Do I think that Palantir can possibly recover from it? Of course, it's an incredibly hyped up stock. It's done an incredible job for 2025 and 2024. And if the hype continues and the meme rally continues, then sure, this thing can possibly recover. So if you're super bullish on Palantir and you want to buy into the dip, be my guest. My thing is, again, if market sentiment begins to change and these budget cuts and these Trump tariffs begin to be more present into the market, we can't also be surprised that there could be more potential downturn. And especially with these overhyped up, overvalued companies, there's a lot of downside. As you can see, it sold off 10% today, and it gave back an additional, if I'm not mistaken, 10% yesterday. So just within 2 days, and I want to show you this, from 125 all the way to lows of 95, it lost 23%. So if you ever say that PLTR is not overhyped up or overvalued, I just want to remind you, a very stable company that's not overhyped up does not lose 1/4 of its value within 24 hours. It's, again, numbers don't lie. You can get offended, but it is what it is. You have to be aware of when something is overbought. It doesn't take much to tip it on over. So very excited to follow up. I'm glad we were able to catch our little piece of the profit on this. But also I took profits because I know that how strong Palantir can be, and I just don't want to get greedy and then this thing begin to recover and then give back the profits that I made. So very excited to follow up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little update. Make sure you subscribe for more. And again, if you ever want to tune on into my live trading sessions, that's going to be that second link in the description down below, and you can watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow. Take care, team.